99X and the Morning X. It's Barnes, Leslie, Fram. You want a little story?
I love stories, yes.
I love stories because sometimes it makes you look at a brand differently or look at a thing differently, because sometimes you just make an assumption when you hear a cool name or a catchy name that it's called that just for no reason.
Yeah, just catchy.
So once upon a time, there was this guy, and he used to book concerts. And he used to work in the Masquerade Music Park and putting together great shows for everybody. And then that young man had a dream. And then one day he was listening to this song. Did you hear anything in there that stands out, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Like the line about Shaky Knees. That's My Morning Jacket. The song called Steam Engine. And that guy I'm talking about is Tim Sweetwood. Hey, Tim.
How are you?
Doing good. Was that
Good morning.
that was like you're behind the music right there.
Yeah, that's it. If there was such a thing, for sure.
But I want to know, when was it, before or after? Like, did you hear that lyric and think, I'm going to use that someday? Or had you already thought about the festival and then you heard the lyric?
I was searching for something. There was that dream of the festival, like you said, and then I was searching for something in particular with Shaky Knees that wasn't I'm making it up, Central Park Festival or
right.
Piedmont Park Festival, that kind of too much of a generic name that everybody would know right off the bat. I wanted them to say Shaky Knees. What the hell is that? And so that's where something obscure, and I have an infatuation for My Morning Jacket, and that's one of my favorite songs too of theirs. So
you kind of kept going back to that, or you knew, you're like, that's it?
Yeah, I think it came back, and I was all over them, watching them all the time. So it's something that definitely came back. In fact, agents, when I started mentioning it, said the festival will fail because what festival would succeed? That's called Shaky Knees.
Really?
That's just crazy.
Proved them wrong.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on, what were the losing names? Were there any second, third, fourth place names?
I don't know, maybe Trembling Toes or something like that. Who knows?
Well, Tim, like you, I have an infatuation with My Morning Jacket as well. And I remember one epic night seeing them New Year's Eve at Madison Square Garden. Did Jim James or Yim Yames ever react to the Shaky Knees name?
Oh yeah, we've discussed. We're friends, so he knows all about it, and actually had played year one as a solo artist, funny enough, and then My Morning Jacket didn't play for many years later in the festival's history. But they're well aware, and I think the thing that gives me goosebumps is to being in the, just like y'all, being in the industry, you want something to register culturally. And I think where I got bigger goosebumps than even the festival was seeing My Morning Jacket at the Fox one year. And, they play Steam Engine, sing Shaky Knees, and the crowd just yells at Shaky Knees, where that doesn't happen when you're seeing My Morning Jacket in Seattle or something.
Yeah,
right.
Like you made a thing. You created a thing.
That's right. And that's where it's like, people behind me I don't know are, punching me in the shoulder and things like that. So it rings home for sure. So.
Well, congratulations.
Leslie, why don't you hit some of what an incredible lineup. It's all 99X, ready to go May 3rd through the 5th at Central Park.
Yeah, Tim, I have to hand it to you, and I'm sure your musical taste comes into play here, but this lineup, as Barnes said, unbelievable. I'll just run through a few things. Friday, Noah Kahan, Arcade Fire, Young the Giant, Interpol, The Survivalists. Let's go to Saturday, Weezer, Queens of the Stone Age, The Offspring, Girl in Red, Mike Snow. Foo Fighters on Sunday with Billy Idol, Portugal the Man, Dinosaur Jr., and again, all of these bands, part of the history of 99X. This lineup, congrats. It's amazing.
I really appreciate it. And it's like, and for your listeners, and I'm not just saying that because that's what 99X has been on, but that's a lot of what the festival is and always has been for me. Is a lot of people, then you mentioned a lot of these names that listeners and avid music listeners know, the names you don't know are on there for a reason. Those are meant to be found, and those are, the Young the Giant 6 years before they're known as Young the Giant, right? Or whatever that band may be. And that's what it's influenced by. And that's why I think the artists have such fun on site is, if it's psychedelic porn crumpets, maybe they're the next My Morning Jacket. And so, that's where that comes from. And that's where those bookings are earlier in the day and stuff like that.
I love the psychedelic corn crumpets. I have all their album. All right, we're talking to Tim Sweetwood. He is the brain behind Shaky Knees. That's his baby. I mean, when this thing started, the whole thing was it was about being an indie fest. And now you've grown to be so massive and known all over the world. That had to be such a thrill for you to cross over. Because, of course, everyone starts at wanting it to be their little baby. And then it grows up to be a big, kid. And it's massive.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate those kind words. To your point, it's been on a dream. And then even every year, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to register and work with people. But it certainly came out of my subliminal working at the Masquerade. You all know it well, being in Atlanta. Masquerade is the, I like to always call it the land of misfit toys, and all that kind of stuff. So it's something different, and that's what the festival was in the beginning. And funny enough, when the festival started, I was asking a lot of bands that I was friends with so that they would trust me and play it, and say, hey, because a lot of festivals back in the day, what is this? And again, just like you said, that we were going the story of Shaky Knees, what the heck are you talking about? So it has been on those dreams and that abstract and being a little different. And yes, it's grown, and I've been very lucky and thankful there where, the last few years we've really stepped into some massive headliners and all that kind of stuff. And this year's no better example than that with, Foo Fighters and an up and coming headliner like Noah Kahn. This will only be like the third festival he's ever headlined, stuff like that.
We have to take a break. And heading into break, I want to give you a question to think about. What over the years, this is your 11th year?
Yes.
Yeah, 11th year.
Yeah.
What is the biggest near miss that you had for a headliner? Insert Jeopardy music here. Dun, 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 dun. Think about that. More with Tim Sweetwood when we come back. Don't forget, this is not this weekend, but next weekend, May 3rd through 5th at Central Park. The 3-day passes are gone. You can still get individual day passes for next weekend. More with Tim Sweetwood, Shaky Knees, when we come back on 99X.